Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Dugout. We've got European action from the midweek, the usual league fixtures, and then maybe a bit on Scotland to cover in this episode. I'm joined with my two co-hosts. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm looking forward to talking about the football again as we do every week. Um, a lot to talk about. Some big results, especially in Europe for Celtic. So, yeah, exciting.
And Laurie?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Like Alex, always good to be chatting about the football just after the weekend fixtures. And I mean, as we were just touching on there, a very good midweek for Celtic. I was obviously seeing them in the flesh yesterday. As we record this, and I mean they were decent. But I tell you something, that European game has certainly took something out of them.
Yeah, I thought Celtic could have possibly suffered a European hangover, as they say, but they pulled through. Anyway, going to that game that Alex mentioned, Celtic v RB Leipzig, massive win for Celtic, massive result, probably one of Celtic's all-time European performances in recent history. I mean, we spoke about Leipzig, me and Alex, on the pod on the preview last week. Leipzig have lost once in their 10 league games, obviously had no points in the Champions League. They lost 2-1 at Signal Iduna Park last week. Far better result than obviously Celtic's against Dortmund. And they might have been expecting to come to Celtic Park and roll Celtic over like Dortmund did in Germany, but that never happened, did it, Alex?
No, it certainly did not. And I didn't see the game. I was out for some reason, going to try and see fireworks at Strathclyde. Traffic was awful. But yeah, I didn't see the game, but saw loads of clips, saw the highlights, saw a bit of extended highlights as well. And Celtic just looked like they had the intensity. The only real threat Leipzig had was from their set pieces. And obviously they scored off of that, but Celtic just kept at it and kept at it. And in the end, the better team won. And it's a massive result. I don't know. I think I saw somewhere as well for the noise. It's 10 decibels off the record for the loudest at a football stadium. Galatasaray are the top. So some noise, some atmosphere from the fans, and it's a fantastic win that puts Celtic in a fantastic position going into these final games. Because you looked at the games beforehand, and maybe there was four that you thought they could win, and four that you thought, these were one of the ones that they weren't really expected to get anything. And if you can get that on your way, it's a real boost for Celtic to maybe make it through. And to be totally honest, this might be me putting my Scottish coefficient specs on, but um, I don't think top eight's unrealistic.
Yeah. Laurie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think top eight is maybe more realistic than anyone would have thought, whether you're of a green and white persuasion or not. Celtic have actually done really well in Europe so far this season. Of course, the Dortmund game, the less said about that, the better. But in every other game, Celtic have really impressed and are doing Scottish football, proud. And I was fortunate enough to watch the game on Tuesday night. When I say fortunate, it gave me, as a Kilmarnock supporter, a severe case of the fear because Celtic were mightily impressive against top side. Because unlike Alex, I was trying to avoid the noise of fireworks. But yes, Celtic were outstanding on that night, and I just like, I mean, that's one of the best teams, in Germany, and they're a team who would probably fancy themselves at at least getting out of the league phase and doing well. As much as it's maybe not the way it's working out for them, but it's almost seemed a bit of a role reversal from what you maybe would have expected. When the Champions League started. But again, it's just more proof and more vindication of what we said. At the start of the season when we thought, could this format benefit the Scottish clubs? and we're really starting to see that across the board now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
sorry, Ethan.
No, go, Alex.
I think as well, just building on that point there, to see the fact that these are like one-off games, it's just the feeling of like every time you go into them, anything can happen, and I imagine that feeds into the players as well. Just the fans and getting behind them, and and what I was mentioning earlier as well about the games, you maybe think, oh, probably write-offs. They've got 4 points from 3 of those games, which is fantastic. And yeah, that sort of one-off game feeling of like we can get something, we can do it is good because it's like maybe there's a mentality when it was the group stages, oh, we'll get them at home, or oh, they're a good side, but we'll play them twice and we've got other games, blah, blah, blah. But this time it's one chance to show what you're made of against this team. You won't get to play them again unless you beat them in the knockouts or whatever. So, and I feel like that would feed into the players, and they really took advantage of that. Standouts, Nicholas Kuhn, he's just unreal every time. I swear he gets better and better every week. And for me, if he keeps going at this rate, he'll surpass what Jota did at Celtic. Loved by the fans, was excellent, but I think Nicholas Kuhn's on the trajectory to surpass him.
Yeah, I think that you could definitely make that case. I think Celtic were, as you both mentioned, were absolutely brilliant. I think for large parts of the game were the better team. I think Leipzig had that sort of period just before they scored that goal from the corner, as you mentioned, Alex, and just after that where Celtic looked a bit shaky, and you were maybe thinking, being in the stadium, you thought, oh, maybe we'll be lucky to get to half time being just the one down here. But Celtic they composed themselves and they got their confidence back. And well, you could say about Kuhn, he pretty much dragged Celtic back into the game with that goal. There's no right really to score from there.
Yeah, you're right.
Galassi. I think
Oh,
Alex has
cross
got
or
a
a
point to
shot? Come
make on
on,
this
cross or
goal.
a shot? Which one?
It was a
No, I think
cross.
it's definitely a shot. I
It
think
was
it's
a cross.
definitely.
It's meant to be a floated cross. You can tell by his body shape. He slightly mishits it with like his heel. And it's great finish in the end, but he doesn't mean it. Come on.
Both he
I think
doesn't.
that's. I think that's terrible to
I think he was
discredit him.
trying to float it to Maeda.
It could be, but at the end of the day, it's
It
a
went
brilliant
in,
goal.
and it was a
Yeah,
great goal, but I don't think he meant it.
yeah.
So,
Um, I think Nicholas Kuhn's the only one that probably knows that.
and he'll
But yeah,
never tell us.
yeah. And Celtic, compared to the Dortmund match, with the kind of way that Celtic set up, there wasn't too many differences. I think Celtic's press was just a lot better than it was in Dortmund. Celtic pressed with kind of four across the front three. Hatate jumped up. They went even the two centre halves were their two strikers, so it was a really kind of aggressive approach, and it worked. They obviously get the second goal off of that. I think I watching the highlights back, I counted 6 Celtic players on that left hand side within about a 10-yard radius. So it shows how much Celtic were just getting after Leipzig, and they made it really difficult, and they worked the goal well. Maybe get a bit lucky that Maeda mishits it straight to Kuhn, but Kuhn's on it again. It was a good goal, and Celtic, well, still had a lot to do at half time, but I thought Celtic were even better in the second half. They got better as the game went on, and I even thought Celtic's substitutes were better than Leipzig's substitutes. Leipzig, you could see a drop off on their sort of top players who weren't on it on the night. We spoke about Openda and Shesko, but in Celtic would have to keep them quiet, and they did. But as Alex said, the only kind of threat that Leipzig had was from crosses, and Celtic, well, battered them, you could say. And then the third goal comes. Kuhn and Alistair Johnson down that right hand side again, combining well, and Peter Galassi makes a bit of a mess of it. And my man of the match on the night, Real Hatate, finishes. I thought Real Hatate played his best game in a Celtic shirt. following on from his performance at Hampden. I'm sure we'll get on to his performance from yesterday at Rugby Park. Not up to par, but a brilliant result for Celtic. And as Alex said, top 8 is very much a possibility at this point.
Yeah, you mentioned Peter Galassi there, and I just want to bring something up. When RB Leipzig played Rangers in the semi-final of the Europa League, I think I'm not exactly sure where this is from, but it's more like my uncle told my grandpa, told my blah blah blah. But apparently, Peter Galassi said before the Rangers game, they could hear, the noise through the changing rooms and people banging on the walls and stuff. And he said, before we went out, I knew we'd lost. And I wonder if that had a similar effect in Celtic Park with the atmosphere. Obviously, it was the same result as well, it was 3-1. And I wonder if that sort of atmosphere got to him and got to them. Obviously, it's there are different players, but much of them are the same team. Galassi's still there, and I wonder if the big crowd noise and just the constant, Scotland is always hailed as having some of the best fans in the world. So I wonder if that got to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you seen or anybody watching the podcast seen Kevin Campbell's some of his words after the game. Obviously, I think he was part of that team that went to Ibrox.
Yeah, he
Um,
was.
I thought he was Leipzig's best player on the night. He took corners from both sides. They were very threatening. As we mentioned, they were probably the best chance of a goal. He was saying how they took a wee while to settle into the game because of the crowd and just Celtic coming out the traps, and they just weren't ready for it. They obviously got the goal, maybe against the run of play slightly, but they were building momentum. And then he said by the end of it, it felt like they had ran a marathon, and they had ran out of ideas, and there was just nothing they could do against Celtic, which is obviously major compliments to Celtic and how Rodgers set them up. But yeah, brilliant result for Celtic. I think unless you've got anything else to add, I think we'll go on to the Europa League next.
I've got nothing to add to Celtic.
Nope, nothing to add. Time for some Thursday night football, I guess.
Yeah, we've got the 2 games on Thursday. We'll go to the game in Greece first as Olympiacos hosted Rangers. It was a kind of close game. There wasn't really much in it between the two teams. I think Rangers would have been taking a point looking at this on the fixture card. And I think Rangers could have maybe snuck out with a win, but I think Philip Clement will take.
I wouldn't say snuck.
Yeah,
I thought we were the better side. They had a lot of possession, but we gave them
that's
very
what I
little.
meant. Yeah.
Sorry
No,
for.
sorry. I was just going to say. I thought Rangers were the better team, but I thought it was just like a really kind of. I don't know how to explain it. It was just a really kind of tight game, and there wasn't much of the way of chances.
Yeah, I feel like it was a bit like I don't know, a chess match, I'd say.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's a
chess match
perfect
is
way to
fair.
describe
Yeah.
it. I think Rangers quote unquote vertical football was the Olympiacos manager used in his pre-match comments. Worked effectively when Rangers did go long, and I think some of Rangers football was good. And Dessler's obviously 2 of the chances fell to him in the first half. The 1-on-1, which is maybe offside.
He has
If
to
you can
score
see.
that. A second one,
Yeah,
I think is not as easy as everyone's making it out to be. For the first one, he definitely has to score.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the chance made by Czerny. Is that the one you're referring to?
Sorry?
Is that the one where Czerny cuts it back from the right hand
Yeah,
side?
that's the second one that I think is not. People are being a bit too harsh on him for that one, but the one on one he has to score, definitely.
Yeah, and I think Rangers were comfortable in the game. I don't think they were under much pressure for most of the game. And the goal comes from, well, just a bit of really quality finishing from El Kabi, who we mentioned in the pre-match as being the sort of danger man. He's
Yeah,
obviously scored his goal record in Europe's pretty impressive, and it's a really world-class finish, I would say, on the
yeah.
swivel end of the
Yeah,
post.
totally.
The defenders, I think, get drawn in a wee bit to the initial ball, and that obviously gives them the space. But I'm not taking away anything from the finish. It was world class. I thought initially that has to have taken a deflection because Butland went the wrong way, and but it wasn't. It was clean, and it was, just completely fooled Jack Butland, and it was in off. Even if Butland had went the right way, I don't think he was saving it. It was
Yeah,
some
Definitely
finish.
not unsavable. Totally.
yeah, a great finish from El Kabi, and then we did get a great finish from Cyril Dessers. He done well. He kind of fake to shoot almost. I think Restos, the defender, was very poor to go down like that. But Dessers finished off very well and got, which is will be a crucial point for Rangers, needing probably
Yeah,
just three more secure that playoff spot.
yeah. It was a really positive performance. I thought. Obviously, the big call was James Tavernier, and I wanted Dujon Sterling. I mentioned in the preview, and we got Dujon Sterling, who was fantastic. Jelson Martin started throwing his toys out the pram, getting angry with the referee. He actually, in the second half, he actually switched sides as well. So, you know, all credit to Dujon Sterling. I just want to highlight a few players that I thought were really good on the night. Who Robin Proper actually I thought had a really good game. Just his anticipation and one-on-one defending. It was quite good from him. Vaslav Cherny again causing problems. He's taken up. I've noticed as well that he's adding elements to his game where he's not just hugging the touchline. He's taking up little pockets in between the back line and trying to make movement and create space for other players and just cause a bit of havoc in there. So he's sort of drifting across the whole line now, which is good. Um, I think Nadeem Barami grew into the game a little bit. He didn't start so well, but he started getting there. But the two Jeff Day was good as well, which he always is. But the two that I want to mention is the two in the middle of the park, Connor Barron and Nico Raskin, who seem to have formed quite the partnership. And I don't think there's a blade of grass that they haven't covered together. It's incredible. I think I was reading the stats. Connor Barron had 8 recoveries in that game. Nico Raskin had 16, um,
Wow.
which is something else. And them two, and they're good on the ball as well. Uh, I think they're very similar players, but it seems to be working having the two of them in there. And yeah, it was a good point. Although maybe you feel that you could have walked away with something more, but it's not a bad point, especially to a team that doesn't often lose at home.
Yeah. Laurie, were you going to say
Yeah,
anything
I mean,
about that?
I was quite impressed by how Rangers were against Olympiacos. Definitely, I mean, backing up a lot of what you have said. Really, I would say that's probably one of Rangers' performances of the season because even at times when Rangers have been getting results, they've not always looked the most convincing. So that that kind of performance has maybe been a bit of proof that that Rangers team does have its quality. I mean, guys like Connor
Sorry.
Barron have been impressive all season, but starting to maybe see more of the true quality of our players, and of course the usual example of why Cyril Dessers is the most frustrating striker in the league.
Yeah. He's his numbers aren't the worst, but he still splits many opinion across Scotland. But I think, as you mentioned, Alex, I think the midfield of Raskin and Barron works a lot better than try to probably shoe Diamande in there when it's not really his natural position. Obviously, he
Hmm.
did get to play in his natural position with Tom Lawrence injured. Um, But yeah, a good point for Rangers, and they just need that last win. The fixtures, a lot of them aren't easy. They've obviously got Nice away, which they haven't been the best in Europe this season. Then they've got the two big English teams, Spurs at home. Then in January they've got Man United at Old Trafford, and then they've got Union St Gilloise at home, which will probably be the fixture that Rangers would have targeted for points, but you probably don't want to leave it till that last game. But I think those points for Rangers before that game, but it will be difficult. And moving on to have you got anything to say? Were you going to say something there, Laurie?
Yeah, just I think Rangers are in a good position. It's just the Unions and Gilmar will be the target, I'm sure. Although I'm quite sure they've played each other recently. Those two, can't remember what the outcome was. I can probably remember how Rangers got on against Unions and Gilmar, but I cannot remember. But Rangers will be
We
positive.
lost 2-0 away from home, and we beat them 3-0 at Ibrox to progress to the next qualifying round against PSV. That was the first time we played PSV, so we actually qualified for the Champions League that year, and then
Yeah.
got battered about in the group stages. But um, we'll move on for that quickly. But yeah, last time against Saint-Gilloise at Ibrox was a decent showing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on to the last game, Hearts have obviously their league form is still very poor by Hearts standards, you would probably say. But in Europe, they've looked bright. They were going into this game against probably you would say the hardest game um, against German opposition with 2 wins from 2 before this one. And I thought Hearts were pretty impressive for most of the game. Obviously, Heidenheim had rotated their team a bit, as you would expect, as the opposition they'll face in the Bundesliga is probably of higher quality than most they'll face in the conference. But Hearts were really good. They're just kind of, I think they're missing the goals a lot of Shankland a lot. Obviously, he's still only got that 1 goal this season. But yeah, the quality shone through in the end from Heidenheim when they got those goals, with a Michael Stewart commentator's curse. Don't know if you've seen that, but yeah, it was unfortunate for Hearts, but they've still got other games that they'll look to get that final point they need to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, a little bit of a dugout public service announcement. We have nothing against Michael Stewart. I think we've brought up his commentary in two weekend review pods in a row, or midweek review as well. But I mean, I did catch the commentator's curse. Hearts did play very well. I mean, they weren't expected to obviously, get the better of Heidenheim in the end, but with the way the game played out, they'll be frustrated to not have at least scored. Usually missing the goals of Shankland even is massive for them. I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily say Lawrence Shankland's playing badly. It's just one of those where he's just not scoring. It's just weird.
Yeah,
'Cause we're always used to him being something of a goal machine.
yeah. I think you can see even the other night that the chances he's still getting chances. He's just not. He's probably at an all-time low confidence wise, and he's just not finishing them. I think I still believe Hearts will be more than okay in the Scottish Premiership, and I think they will get that final point they need in the Conference League once Shankland gets up and running, which the Hearts fans will hope he does. Was good goals from well taken headers from Heidenheim through Conte and Schopner. But yeah, the last three, the next two, looking to avenge your Kelly, Laurie. Cercle Bruges away. Not avenge. Avenge Kelly. Yeah,
Almost, yeah, yeah,
Avenge, yeah,
technically.
you
Yeah,
got it
yeah,
yeah.
I
right.
would say. Yeah, you were
Yeah, I
right.
was wondering how Kelly lost twice in European quality. I realised they went from Europa and then down.
Europa to conference.
Yeah, and Cercle Bruges and Copenhagen, which will be two difficult ties for Hearts. But if they play their best, then they'll definitely have a chance. And then Petro Club at home, they'll expect to win that one, and you would hope they do win that one. And hopefully, we're still Scottish teams all in a very comfortable position progress, which would be great for the Scottish coefficient to earn back that Champions League automatic spot, and maybe even push for 2 automatic spots with the rate the teams are going at this season.
Yeah, Hearts definitely, I think, have the players in the squad to do it. I just want to feed into your point about Lauren Shanklin, and I think it comes to the whole Hearts squad. The finishing was extremely poor because I thought they were excellent all over the pitch, but they've been done by two good finishes, and they just couldn't finish their chances. It's almost like an age-old tale in football. It always happens. If you don't finish your chances, you'll get done by a cracking finish on the other end or a well-taken finish. So that is something that Shankland needs to work on. But it's, I think, it's a responsibility that the rest of the squad needs to take up and go, right, our main guy isn't banging them in. We need to help him out. We need to get the goals. We need to give him the opportunities and get him back, and we can help him. So I think that's the main criticism for Hearts on Thursday there, and perhaps from the weekend as well.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of the same signs. Okay, we'll probably go on to the league action now. We'll start with the Saturday games with Hibs versus St Mirren. Of course, Hibs a terrible run of form under David Gray. No win in 7 games now, and they sit rock bottom of the table. Another good win for St Mirren under that. They've got that not new manager bounce, but since Stephen Robinson signed that contract, they seem to have been their form's got a lot better. But for
You
Hibs,
really like talking about that new manager bounce, don't you, Ethan?
yeah, I do like a
Um,
new manager bounce, but I think
I
Hibs
think
need a new manager bounce.
for the viewers' context, that we were discussing Man United and what their new manager bounce will be like, and Ethan seems to think it can last like 2 months or something. So
I
I
think with
don't
Man United it can.
don't know, but
To be
yeah,
fair,
great bounce for St Mirren with a new contract and
Yeah,
good run of form they're in.
yeah. I was saying St Mirren, no, not St Mirren. Hibs need a new manager bounce. That's my opinion. I think David Gray's got to go. I don't really know how he's still in charge at this
I,
point.
d- I don't think Hibs fans even though there's been plenty of speculation that he's timed up, although nothing's been confirmed yet. But then
Well, I think hasn't there been like rumours circulating for about 3 weeks going, "Oh, today's the day. The announcement's going to be made today," and there was one today as well, wasn't there?
there was
And nothing
yeah, there was
happened.
one today, nothing's happened.
Yeah, well, I think. Sorry, Laurie. I was just going to say. I think. Well, I don't know what the kind of higher ups at Hibs are actually waiting on because he's been backed in the window. I think they brought in the most players, maybe apart from Motherwell. It was one of the two anyway. Um,
Yeah.
and they've got a good squad there, and they're just not doing well at all. They're doing way below par for Hibs, way below par for the squad they've got.
What?
And if they don't turn it round, they're going to go down.
Yeah, do you know what's funny as well? When you mentioned the squad and the quality of players they have, when I see them, they don't actually look that bad. You know, they
Yeah,
always look like they're maybe the better team in the games, but it's just that weak stomach they've got, and
I
um,
mean, Saturday was a prime example. No disrespect to St Mirren and anybody's listening, but like Hibs looked all right.
yeah. I
they've got
think.
they've got real
Well,
quality as well. Sorry, Ethan, but just with the likes of like Junior Hoylett and Martin Boyle, Ellie Yuan, to name a few. Miller's a great player, the right back position. I think me and Ethan both like him. And it's really a terrible scenario, and I think those players might need something new, something fresh to sort of boost them on. Who would come in? I couldn't answer that question. Ruud van Nistelrooy, maybe. Do you think they've got the budget for him?
I mean,
no,
he's looking for work, clearly. Nah,
yeah,
but in all seriousness, the only name that I would put forward, and it's a controversial one for Hibs fans, kind of the very start of this process of Hibs going back and forth between managers was when they sacked Jack Ross, when I'm quite sure he was doing perfectly okay. I mean, that's not very inspiring for me to put his name back into the ring, but like, what else are we looking at here, to be honest?
Well,
Neil
I
Lennon.
think he's finished as well, to be fair. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
heard I
possibly.
heard that they contacted McAnnis, but nothing really came of that. So
Yeah, I've heard the same, but I wouldn't expect McInnes to go for it because that's why he got his extension in the summer because they tried to get him twice and didn't even get as far as speaking to him. So I don't really think that would change now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's a scenario where I think David Gray has to go, but who do they get in? It's a tough one. Do they try and maybe cherry pick someone from the championship? You know, oh God, his name's
Oh,
escaped right out of my head.
there's quite an obvious one actually
Yeah,
when you
the
think it's
Falkirk.
hit as well. Scott Brown is an obvious
yeah,
Oh,
shout
that's
for
what I was
who
thinking.
it could be.
Scott Brown. Yeah, I was thinking maybe go. Who's the Falkirk manager? John McGlynn.
John
Yeah, he got
McGlynn, never going to be
like,
him at Hibs. Never.
yeah. Well, he's
Maybe.
kind of got allegiances at heart, so I'd probably rule him out of that one.
Yeah, but there's
Uh,
been players and managers that have played for both, like our favourite commentator, Michael Stewart.
yeah,
He
True.
played for both, so you know, I guess I think in football nothing's out of the realms of possibility, maybe except from Rangers and Celtic. Although that has happened in the past,
Yeah,
the Kenny Miller, that's a rarer occurrence
absolutely.
for players, and I don't think I can't think of any manager that has dared to do both. But
No,
I think I don't know if he would leave Falkirk because maybe he'd want to keep going with what he's built there.
I
Um,
think we're going to keep going. The only other candidate I can think of, and this is potentially the most likely one, and I think why the higher up the Hibs don't want to pull the plug, because the most obvious candidate I can think is, shall we say, a former Ross County manager who
Aye,
is
Malky Mackay.
who is currently there at Hibs. But I think they know if they do that, I think they know what kind of reaction that's going to get, don't they?
Yeah, well, he's already got a role at the club, so how much more controversial can you get? Like, just if you want to do it, pull the trigger. You know,
yeah,
stop, stop dancing around, walking on eggshells. But yeah, Hibs. I think we'll get sort of steer back
yeah.
to the game.
I was just going to get into the game there.
Yeah,
Uh,
Hibs. You know, just not great. Obviously, they had that late equaliser. Was it disallowed?
yeah,
Um, I thought it was debatable.
yeah. I think
Um,
yeah. I think Hibs on another day they could have maybe got a point, but I think they left it too late. David Gray came out and apologised for the first half performance and how bad it was, and
should be
um,
apologising for the season.
yeah, but the second half was definitely better though. But they left it; it was too little, too late. St Mirren get the two first half goals. Conor McMenamin with a first half double, his two first goals of the season. One of them was a well worked goal with Ahara and Scott Tanser in the build up. The other one was a really poor mistake from a Ahara who just miscontrols the ball in the middle of the pitch. Was really poor, and maybe even Joseph Bursick could have done better with it. But Hibs got back into the game in the second half. They could have had a penalty when Martin Boyle's shot came off Richard Taylor's arm. I think it would have been harsh. And then they did get a penalty when Martin Boyle was fouled by O'Hara. I think Martin Boyle was maybe looking for it, which I've seen a lot of the St Mirren fans give him a bit of stick for that. But
I thought it was
um,
a fairly obvious penalty, to be
yeah,
honest.
no,
Every player who gets taken down does that. Uh,
yeah,
a
No,
prime
everyone
example
do.
who was much hated by a lot of the clubs up here because of his trickery in the box and he was looking for a lot of penalties was Ryan Kent. He got hunters where he left a trailing leg and got caught. Especially, well, drawing examples from the Europe as well, Borussia Dortmund and Red Star Belgrade won against Hibs actually as well. So yeah, but I think every player does that and they will get stick for it, but in the end it is a penalty.
yeah. And at the end of the day, if you've got to do it to get your team back into the game, and it was a penalty, but he didn't make the most of it at all. Stepped
Definitely
up.
not.
Ellery Balcom guessed the right way, and I think he's Balcom's kind of grown into that St Mirren spot a lot better. He kind of split opinion at the start of the season, but I think he's getting more of a reassurance from the St Mirren support. And then Hibs got another penalty, this time for handball on Alex Gogic. It was Nicky Cadden who stepped up. He went the same way as Boyle, this time with a different result. And you think it's going to be a consolation at that point in the 94th minute. But then just after the restart, Hibs look like they've done it with a late equaliser. Cadden again. But Dwight Gale in an offside position. I think Dwight Gale knew he was kind of interfering with play. He kind of didn't really celebrate, which maybe gave it away and ruined the kind of late celebration of the Hibs fans that were left in the stadium, as a lot had probably already left. But yeah, more disappointment for Hibs.
Yeah,
And the
just
next game, have you got any more to add on that?
I was just quickly saying it, just the kind of, and I think the phrase Alex used a few minutes ago was like, the kind of soft stomach, a bad stomach the Hibs have got, and they seem to be lacking bottle and conviction at the minute, really, and obviously conceding all these late goals. They probably thought maybe scoring a late one would be what turned it around, but of course, just offside, just real source of frustration for them.
Yeah, and they didn't even consider, they got away without conceding any of the late goals this week, but it'll feel like they conceded a late goal with just how it panned out. But going on to the next game, we had Motherwell versus St Johnstone. Motherwell, along with Dundee United, I think have established themselves as really favourites, early favourites for the top six places. St Johnstone still trying to find their way under their new manager, Valakari. That's 3 losses on the bounce for the Saints, so not the best. But they're still trying to play that possession-based football. I think they're fourth in the league for average possession, which is quite high for St Johnstone. Motherwell in last, so even with only having 30% of the ball in the first half, Motherwell were the better team for pretty much the whole game. And they took the lead. They took the lead through Maswanise, a good header after Marvin Coletta
He's
cross.
he's emerging as a real problem for defences. Just his physical ability and his pace, and he's sort of come to the forefront over the past few weeks. Was he injured at the beginning of the season, or has he just been starting to get brought in, or
No, I think he was injured.
he was injured? So
I think so.
he started coming in and really making an impact, and he's one of the standouts, I'd say. I've seen over the recent weeks with Motherwell, along with obviously their star boy Lennon Miller, but yeah, Maswanise is really he's made an impact on me certainly because I'm thinking, "Oh, who's this guy?" And every time I see him, he's quite exciting.
Yeah, that's 3 goals
Absolutely.
in 3 games for him now. And I think they got him from Leicester, I think. And the boy who put in the cross, Marvin Coletta, they got on loan from Wolves. I think he looks like a really good pickup as well. And Motherwell have recruited really well after they lost a lot of key players in the summer, which made me think they were going to go down. But how wrong I was.
Maswanise is only 21 as well. I didn't realise that.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah, seemed
eight
a
game,
really good pickup from Motherwell, definitely.
yeah,
One
eight
he could make
games in the
profit.
Premiership, 3 goals and 1 assist. Sorry to cut you off there, Laurie. Just giving the statistics, and that's not bad certainly for. I don't mean to sound condescending here, but like Motherwell standard, 4 goal
yeah,
involvements in 8 games is really good.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was adding to that. It's not condescending at all, just actually to maybe potentially correct what I said. Is he actually Motherwell's player or is he on loan?
He's Motherwell's player.
I
Even
think
better. I
yeah.
thought he was, but I kind of doubted myself. But that's just really good recruitment from Motherwell. They were a team who, at least I always associated with good recruitment. A few years back when Stephen Robinson was in charge, but I kind of feel like maybe in recent times that's fell away a wee bit, other than a few notable exceptions. But I mean, it seems that Maswanisi is going to be one of them, definitely.
Yeah. And Maswanise was involved in the second goal as well. he laid it off well for Tom Sparrow, who it was a really good finish from outside the box. He just drilled it into the bottom left corner. And then in the second half, St Johnstone get a penalty. Andy Halliday handball. I think it's very harsh on him. It's very close. And yeah, it's quite unfortunate. But his former Rangers teammate punishes him. Nicky Clark steps up and sends Oxborough the wrong way to maybe get St Johnstone back in it with half an hour to go, but it never really came until right at the end when Jack Sanders thought he had sneaked a point for St Johnstone, but he had put it in with his hand and the goal was ruled out, unfortunately, for the Saints. So another win for Motherwell, which puts them in a really good position. I think them and Dundee United, who we'll get on to, are now 7 points clear inside the top 6. So a brilliant start for both of those teams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are. Yeah, and Motherwell are actually they're level on points with Dundee United, but they have a game in hand on them. And obviously, the two of them right now are only 3 points off of Rangers as well. So it's great for them, despite how poor Rangers have been. You still expect, even if they've been poor, for them to be in a different stratosphere to these clubs. But but yeah, Dundee United, Motherwell have been excellent, and yeah. Ethan, I think you're about to talk about the Dundee United game for a
Yeah, I
rudely cut
was,
you off.
unless Laurie has anything to say, less things to say.
No, no, nothing really to add. Feel
Yeah.
free to talk about the Tangerines.
Yeah, another good win for Dundee United. Jim Goodwin said it was the most complete performance of the season. 3-0 win at home to Ross County. Jim Goodwin got his rewarded with a new contract recently. And like as I mentioned with Motherwell, that Dundee United are really kind of making a statement in the league in the early season after being promoted, of course. And Ross County's wait for an away win in the league goes on. I think it's over a year, I heard, since the last one away from home in the Scottish Premiership. So yeah, it's quite the unwanted stat, you could say. I think it was kind of an even first half, but Dundee United pulled away in the second half and kind of blitzed Ross County. I think the first goal is maybe my goal of the week. I think Lucas Stevenson, diving header, and he's been a player that's really impressed me this season. I think like a he looks like a top talent. Obviously on loan from Liverpool, he's got that expectation. Usually a wing back, but playing at right wing on Saturday, and it was a really good header from him.
Yeah, that's one of my contenders as well, although I don't think that'll be the one I give it to. But Lucas Stevenson, he's one as well that I really like, and he's impressed me with his, he's sort of got a goal scoring ability as well. He's sort of been employed in that sort of right winger, wing back combination a few times. Employed, deployed. That's what I meant to
Yeah,
say. But yeah, he is one that there's one to look out for, and he's definitely one of their standout players, and one of the reasons why they've been so good this season.
Definitely, and he's someone who I think you never know. I mean, Liverpool youngsters seem to do quite well up here in Scotland. I know my club, Kilmarnock, benefited from a couple of them, and now I think obviously he had Owen Beck at Dundee as well, and now obviously they're a third
Smashing it
city.
at Blackburn.
Yeah, like I mean, Liverpool youngsters seem to do quite well in the SPFL.
yeah.
So yeah, indeed.
And then Dundee United got a second goal. A wee bit more fortune with this one. David Babinski just kind of hopefully kicks it over his head. And the Ross County defence are slow to react, and Sam Dalby just runs through and pokes it past Laidlaw. And he's really a player who's starting to heat up and get some form. That's his, I think, fourth goal in 5 games. And he's another loanee from Wrexham. So yeah, and then Dundee United finished it off the perfect way, you could say. The 17-year-old Owen Sturton made his Premiership debut and scored a really good header with just his second touch.
Well,
Um,
Dundee United have a bit of a reputation for that, don't they? Bringing in really young guys and they make an impact quite early. So
Yeah, best example, current Scotland captain, who obviously was, taken in from, Queen's Park and Ambleside at the time. Even, I suppose, when he was in the team, you had the likes of Stuart Armstrong, Ryan Gold, probably a few other players as well. I
Gary
can't even
Mackay,
think of
Stephen.
Anyway, Stephen, he was young at that time. He was probably one of the more senior ones of that kind of younger group. But Mackay Stephen, definitely another. But yeah, so Dundee United used to always be brilliant for that. So maybe we're starting to see like that sort of Dundee United again. So, and that would kind of correlate to how they've been doing this season because back then they were kind of top six, kind of maybe knocking on the door of potential European qualifications. So it could be the same again. Who
I
knows?
I think Dundee United are a club that if they're in the division, the league benefits from it. They've just got that feel about them. They're a fairly
Yeah.
big club and they've had some successes with their players over the years produced like that. I think that crop of players that you sort of talked about were excellent, and that was kind of my introduction was with the match attacks and your pack here, the Celtic and Rangers players. No, maybe not Rangers at that time, but your Celtic players have the good stats and all that. And but the ones from the rest of the league that had the better stats were Mackay Stephen and Armstrong and Nadir Chief Cheese. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I can just imagine like a GMS match attack card from like I don't know 2014 from like
yeah,
some sort of
yeah.
mad skill stat.
I think I was on a school on a school trip to like the Viking bit and like Largs. I don't know
Yeah.
how, but I think I managed to source some match attacks packs and I was opening them when we were on the tour and I was supposed to be listening. But
That's
well,
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. You always knew football was the thing for you, Alex.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Um, But yeah, Dundee United, I think, as we mentioned, they've got a really good blend of kind of senior players, experience. They've obviously got Declan Gallagher at the back. They've got a really good kind of crop of young players coming down from England to prove themselves, and then they've got young players from the youth system pushing. And I think they are in a great position. Obviously, there's been that little battle with Dundee United and Motherwell where Motherwell have won both the game in the league and the game in the League Cup. So Dundee United will be looking to kind of get their revenge when they next play because they look like the two teams that are going to be battling around that area for those European spots. Getting on to the final game on Saturday, it was the Saturday kind of evening game. Another Saturday evening game for Aberdeen as they look to keep up their unbeaten streak in the league. Obviously, did suffer their first loss at the weekend last weekend to Celtic in the Premier Sports Cup semi-final, which was obviously going to be a big kind of talking point this game to see whether they would bounce back under Jimmy Flynn, and they did brilliantly. They kind of got a wee bit, took a wee while to get going. Not the best first half, but they absolutely blew Dundee away in the second half. And they show no signs of slowing down in the league. And it's difficult to bounce back after what they suffered last week at Hampden. So yeah, a really, really good win for Aberdeen.
Yeah, excellent for Aberdeen. My actual goal of the week, I think selection is in this. It's I think it's their final goal. Kevin Nisbet, and it's just the work from Shaden Morris, who's another one who's just came out of nowhere, and he's really been impressing me with his appearances off the bench. The run from him, and then he gets it across to Nisbet for the goal. That's sort of that's my contender for goal of the week. Obviously, they faced a bit of a adversity in the game, of penalty given against them. Um, I might be mixing up games. Meathoff saves it, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
From Simon Murray. Sorry, my brain just thought I was thinking about something else there. But yeah, but faced a bit of adversity in this game. Obviously, a really heartbreaking sort of gut punch last week there. Or was it last week or the week before? I'm getting all turned around.
No, it was last week. Aye,
The last week.
Last week, obviously a bit of a humbling defeat. Sort of Celtic kind of going, we are still at the top here, but they bounced back excellently and they managed to put the pressure on Celtic for the next day.
yeah. Just to kind of go through the game. In the first half, there wasn't really much. Right at the end of the half, Gavin Malloy he does get initially get the right side of Simon Murray, try to let the ball go out, but then Murray gets round him and Gavin Malloy brings him down, which is a weird coincidence because at Dens Park earlier in the season, Gavin Malloy gave away a penalty fouling Simon Murray right at the end of the first half. But the difference this time was that Mitov saved it, and that's him saved two out of the three penalties he's went against this season. So Mitov following on from his player of the season at St Johnstone last season. And for the second goal, or no, sorry, the first goal for Aberdeen was in the kind of 53rd minute. Dundee never really cleared down that lines. Antti Palaversa with a good finish into the corner, but Dundee would have been looking to do better. Then Topi Keskinen gets the second, just kind of being a live wire as he is, and he just blasts it through John McCracken. Then the third goal, Dundee pull one back. It was a really kind of great header from Simon Murray to get on the end of Scott Tiffany's cross. He makes amends for his penalty mishap, and then right at the restart from the kick-off, Aberdeen make a double change with Kevin Nisbet and Vicent Bezoizen, is it? What's his name?
Bizawan, I think.
Yeah,
Bizawan.
I've never really been too confident on saying his name.
Just call him
Just
Bez.
that's very grey.
Yeah,
Just call
um,
him Bez.
yeah, but they Nisbet wins a free kick just inside Dundee's half, and he sees his fellow substitute making the run. It's a brilliant pass from Nisbet, and a brilliant way to restore that two-goal lead. And then from there on, it's pretty comfortable for Aberdeen. And then we get to Alex's goal of the week. One of those Shaden Morris runs, which we've become pretty used to this season, down the right-hand side. Picks out Nisbet, who takes his time, and then he hits his shot, which deflects a little bit, which maybe puts John McCracken off. But a great win for Aberdeen to keep the pressure on Celtic, and another kind of sums up Dundee's season. They drop at the top six into seventh. It's kind of been a up and down season for Dundee, and they'll have to do a lot, I'd imagine, to kind of get top six again. It's going to be difficult this season, I think. Going on to Sunday's games, we've got Rugby Park where Kilmarnock hosted Celtic. Celtic, it was not the prettiest performance. It was not the best performance, and I'm sure Laurie and you and the rest of the Kilmarnock fan base and the players will feel very hard done by to not take anything from the game.
Yeah, we really do, to be honest, Stephen, because it was just one of those ones where, yes, Celtic win 2-0, but that really doesn't tell the whole story. If you look at the stats are actually fairly even, which for a no firm side, I don't know, but if you're not Rangers and you're playing Celtic, and it's one of those where the larger team, a so-called larger team, always dominates. I mean, even if you look at Kilmarnock against Rangers from a few weeks ago, it still looks as if Rangers dominated that one and did in terms of stats, whereas that wasn't really the case, broadly speaking, yesterday. And Kilmarnock actually had a higher XG than Celtic, and if I remember right, Kelly's XG was something like 2.33, and I think Celtic was 1.89. And
Yeah.
bear in mind that Celtic's first goal was a cross, but it's just one of these ones of if Kilmarnock got a goal, well, let's be honest, if Marley Watkins' effort went in, could that have been a different game? I'm playing devil's advocate, but no
See,
Kilmarnock fan has any bad word to say about any player. And I've got to say, shameless plug, we were all pretty happy in defeat or proud in defeat on the Kelly View last night, I've got to say.
yeah. See on that goal. the McGregor goal. Um, there was Laurie. You said there wasn't any check for VAR. Um, I'm not trying to ramp up conspiracy or anything, but I didn't see it properly enough. But isn't there a chance if Adam Ida's offside? Um,
He's onside, I think, though.
is
I think
he?
he's in onside position.
All right, cool. I just didn't see
Yeah.
it properly enough. Because obviously he makes a play for the ball. I'm not trying to ramp up conspiracy theories or anything. I just saw the goal quite quickly and I was wondering. But anyway, I think Ethan's got a few conspiracy theories anyway. A few.
No conspiracy theories over here. No, that was a fair point to make. I thought at the time, because he obviously does interfere with play, doesn't touch the ball, but he completely off puts Robbie McCrory. But yeah, Celtic, I mean, the first goal comes from a cross, as Laurie said, probably sums up the performance in the first half. Adam Idan from the start, and he looked like a striker who hasn't started many games. He looked didn't look anything in the way of sharp. Had one chance in 5 minutes, which he put wide, and he should have probably done better. And then there was another chance where he went with probably his wrong foot. But yeah, Kilmarnock were brilliant, especially in the first half. They were good in the second half, but the first half, they had some really good chances. That Marley Watkins one, I thought was a certain goal when he put it past Schmeichel, but agonisingly off the post and out. But yeah, another Callum McGregor goal from outside of the box. Definitely not the prettiest of his goals this season, but I'm sure he wouldn't have complained. But yeah, as you said, the XG, Laurie, I think Kilmarnock have accumulated the most non-penalty XG in a game against Celtic this season. Only Dortmund had more total XG, but they obviously had 2 penalties. But yeah, Kilmarnock were absolutely brilliant and really unlucky not to get anything. And then Nicholas Kuhn probably should have scored on the hour mark, but Robbie McCrory made a brilliant save to maybe make amends for anyone who was passing the blame to him on the first goal.
I
But
don't
then,
think anyone can be blaming him for that, to be totally
yeah,
honest. Because I'm sure everyone in the
No.
stadium thought Ida was going to get his toe onto it, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
And it just wrong foots Robbie McCrory in the end.
I
yeah,
mean, literally everyone thought Ida was gonna get a foot to it. I mean, even the Kilmarnock stadium announcer mistakenly announced it as Adam Ida's goal. And to be fair, from where I sit, in the kind of off the end of the stadium, and anyone sitting in the Moffat stand, at least, probably also thought it was Ida's goal. So to be fair, Adam Ida just doing what kind of poachers or kind of instinctful strikers do to try and get himself on the end of it. In the end, he didn't need to because it was going in. But I mean, as you say, it totally fooled Robin McCrory, who on the whole had a pretty excellent game, as you kind of alluded to, pulled off a couple of absolute worldy save wise. And Nicholas Kuhn, who I've already spoken about, on the episode, he's just on a different level. I saw it on match day one, when we played Celtic at Parkhead, and you saw it again yesterday. He is just on our level.
yeah, yeah. He really is at the top of his game, and obviously he gets the goal that kind of kills Kilmarnock. To make it 2-0. Just really sharp from him. Still has a lot to do, but just the speed he gets round. I think it's Watson who's the recovering player.
Yeah,
And then he just coolly puts it past McCrory. And then I think we get on to the what main red card talking point, could you say? With Ray
yeah.
Latati's challenge. I think us three have debated over it. So I'll let you
It's a,
take
it's
the
it's a
floor.
Stonewall red card.
Yeah,
Okay.
He
I mean,
goes
it's
into his shin
pretty
so
free
high.
up and down, isn't it?
Sorry, Laurie. He just goes so high, and it's he maybe not. It's not the force, but if his leg was planted, you know, could have been bad. And it's just you don't go into a challenge like that. He goes in, flicks his foot up, studs are showing. It's almost like he was going for a sliding kick to like it's as if you jumped and you went for a drop kick or something. That's the form you would take. I don't, Ethan. I know what you're gonna say, but I don't get how you think it's anything other than a red card. And Rio Hatate um, should be thanking the SFA for that one. I think.
Yeah, I think I think it could have really easily went in both ways. I think Rio Hatate, I can see he's trying to like hook the ball with his foot, but he's way too late. It's a crazy, silly challenge to make at that stage of the game. Donnelly nicks it away from him, and he does catch Donnelly with studs. A clear red card, I wouldn't say so, but
Here,
I can see how you can see it's
if
a red
Liam
card.
Donnelly made that challenge, it would be a red from a dirty hammer throwing player. But because it's Rio
That's
Hatate,
true.
it's it's not. So
Possibly, but Liam talking about what hammer throwing, Liam Donnelly nearly
Oh,
got Casper Schmeichel an elbow. I didn't think that one was a red card either.
I
By the way,
know
yeah, yeah.
the
Here's the question: Was it an elbow or was it just his arm? I'm not trying to stick up for Liam,
no,
but
I think it might have
was
been
it
his
actually an
arm.
elbow?
It was like his eye. He never caught Schmeichel, but it's. I mean, was he trying to? You
on
don't
the
really
video,
know.
it kind of looks like he goes for him, and
On the video, it certainly looks like it. Yeah, again,
you
I
can
was
see you can see why
off the
Casper
bench, but
Schmeichel's mad about it. I
yeah,
think they've both Donnelly and Hatate have been watching too much UFC, to be fair,
Yeah.
because those were ridiculous. But yeah,
Oh yeah, I think either of them could have been red cards, possibly. And there was even one that I seen other people complaining about Fraser Murray having a high boot where he caught Ralston. Again, I don't think any of them are red
yeah,
cards. You like to see 11v11 on the pitch. We've seen one similar
I'm
decisions.
not having that. Hatate should have been off.
Okay, right. The
Hitachi
consistency
should have
of
been
the
off. Donnelly's debatable. Fraser Murray, nah. That's,
Yeah. Right. Well, I agree in that I think none of them are red card, but in the past, red cards have been given for less of similar nature. So you can see why you would maybe think it's a red card. But at the end of the night, the day, I don't think it would have made that great a difference. It might have done, but um,
Well, if
I think that's fair
Laurie
enough.
brought up a good example, I thought if you think back to Brad Lyons' red card against Aberdeen, it was kind of the opposite. He went in with the force and the height, but he didn't make much contact. This one was, you know, contact, height, not a lot of force. I'll give Hatate that. But I feel like it's almost a similar sort of thing where it's missing the other elements, but it's still a dangerous challenge. And I think Hatate was very lucky.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's going to be one of these ones where it'll be interesting at the end of the month to potentially get to hear the VAR audio when they maybe release it and that admittedly quite brilliant wee show they're putting together with Gordon Duncan and Willie Collum now. I mean the Brad Lyons one did cause a little bit of debate, amongst the Kilmarnock support at the time. It was one of those, a bit like what you're doing now, Ethan. You're like, is it? I can see why, but you're kind of and ahhing over it. But it was one of those when he kind of Willie Collum kind of explained it and was like, for us, this is a pretty clear red card, and I'm quite sure the Hitati one will be the same when it all comes out.
yeah, possibly. I think it'll be one that'll be debated, definitely between the referees.
Mhm.
But we've seen ones like even the Fraser Murray one, like the Yang one at Tynecastle, where I don't think it's a red card, but that one was given, this one wasn't. But I don't think any of the ones were red cards.
That day at Tynecastle was a VAR fiasco, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was our introduction to the Scottish VAR. I think I remember that as
Yeah,
yeah, that was a big
awful.
day for VAR. Anyway, on to our final game of the week. Rangers hosted Hearts. Speaking of Hearts, hosted Hearts, and a good win for Rangers. 1-0. Was nothing special in the game. Alex, what did you make of it?
I thought the first half was fairly good. Rangers were on top of things, standouts again. Connor Barron and Nico Raskin. Dessers gets the early goal. It's 3-3 for Cyril Dessers now. He'll still get the criticism, but he looks like he's going on a bit of a scoring run. So long may it continue. Yeah, the first half was all right. A couple of chances here and there. Second half was a bit more of a slog. Hearts had a few chances. Kennedy Vargas showcasing his poor finishing again, hitting the outside of the post there. I would say that was probably Hearts' main chance of the game, and I don't think they threatened a lot. I'd, I wouldn't say Rangers were comfortable, but I wouldn't say they were in any real danger, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, it's a decent win. One guy that I want to highlight, who I think's getting better and better week by week, is Jeffy. Um, he's fantastic. There's no other way to describe it. His defensive ability is improving, and going forward, he's a wild card. You don't know what he's going to do. You don't know if he's just going to drive past four players or hit the byline, or his crossing is getting better, more varied. Previously, it would be like pretty looping balls to the back post, but now he's putting in low, hard ones. He's picking guys out on the edge. He's putting good deliveries in. He's up and down. He's defending. I think he was getting frustrated a little bit, but he kept his head. He won a lot of tackles. And yeah, Jeffy for me was the man of the match. Raskin won it in the stadium from the sponsors, but for me, he was a pretty clear man of the match. It's an exciting player Rangers have on their hands. I think he was signed for about £800,000, and he's only 20. I think he's the definition of the modern fullback. He can sort of play inverted as well. He can go down the lines, up and down. 20 years old, Brazilian as well, which it isn't the way it should be, but that adds a bit to a potential sell-on fee.
Definitely.
So yeah, and he's only 20. I think he turns 21 in December, but so far, Jeffy's looking like a fantastic buy for Rangers, and I'm excited to see what he can bring in the future.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like your sort of typical kind of like, as you were saying about maybe 20-year-old Brazilian, that little bit of flair kind of adds to the potential selling value or price tag. It almost sounds like the sort of kind of left field signing, almost to use your word again, then Alex Wildcard that you maybe sign on Football Manager and then sell on for crazy money a few years later.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he's kind
I
of
was,
popped out of nowhere, and his
Yeah.
progression's been very gradual. You could see there was a talent there, but he's slowly becoming more complete, and he's a pleasure to watch.
I was going to pose the question. I've seen a few things, a few Rangers fans wanting Jeffy to be moved up to left wing and Barami to be moved into his more natural middle role. What would you think about that, Alex?
I think that could be a good idea once Ridvan's fit again, because Ridvan is a fantastic player as well. He could do all the things Jeffy can do. I just think Jeffy has a bit of extra height that helps. Ridvan's like 5'7", I think, which isn't
Yeah,
great.
sounds about
But
right.
yeah, I think that's definitely an idea because Jeffy has played on the left wing feature for Rangers and he's been pretty good. So I think the impact that he made, it was Dynamo Kiev away, that he was brought on the left wing and everyone's like, what's going on here? And he was brilliant. So I wouldn't mind that. And I think Barami definitely deserves a chance to be played in the 10 because you can see the talent he's got, the technical ability. But I think he suffers a bit out on the left because he's not got the pace to play out there. But yeah, I'd like to see it. Although the only thing that would maybe stop from doing that is I've really been liking Mo Diamande in the 10 role. Um, he's got a bit of physicality and what's good as well. I think having those three in the midfield is three guys who can run about and win stuff. And Dio gets back in the defence and he maybe adds that extra bit of physical presence that Tom Lawrence doesn't. That Tom Lawrence can't add because of his legs aren't great. Obviously, he's extremely injury prone. He's older as well, and I don't think he has the legs to do what Diamandi does. Diamandi, he's got strength. He's good on the turn. He'll have a pop which can create opportunities. I've noticed that as well recently. Rangers players have been taking more shots from outside the box, which we over the years we've never done, which has been a big frustration for the support. But a lot of shots from outside the box, a lot of following in. Vasa Cherny again, he's just brilliant. Maybe this wasn't one of his most standout games, but he's still impacting the game. He just looks bright every game now, and obviously he had that sort of initial sort of stumbling block where he missed two big chances. And people were starting to go, "Oh, what's this guy on about?" He had a wee bit of a really poor performance against Hibs. Had a bit of a shout at the fans, but he's kept working hard, and I think now we're seeing the fruits of his labour because he looks fantastic. But yeah, I actually like the look of the team just now. The only position that I'd worry about is the striker position. Obviously, Dessers has 3-3, but he doesn't do other things that I'd want from a striker. I think once Danilo's fit again, you should probably try and give him a run. But I, right now, I think I'm quite positive about Rangers. It's a slow process. You can see the building blocks in place for the future. And I think that's what you need to hold on to. There'll be so many people that just won't look at it like that and still go, "Oh, we're not doing this, we're not doing that." But it can't change overnight, and years of mismanagement can't be changed overnight. So I think they just need to keep their heads and keep going.
Yeah. You talk
Yeah,
about Dessers, still not satisfying you, but he's got 10 goals in 20 games this season, so a goal every other game is not a bad strike rate, but as you said, his overall play is where he falls below par.
Which is strange because last year that was one of his highlights. It
Yeah,
seems that's gone, and now he's popping up with a wee goal now and then, but it's not. At 10 goals in 20, it doesn't feel like that. He started off hot, and he went on a barren spell for a bit. Now he's scored three in a row, but it doesn't feel like he's a goal every other game striker. You know what I mean?
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think that's. Are you going to say something, Laurie?
Just one other wee point on something that Alex said about Danilo. I kind of feel like I know he's obviously terrible with injuries. I feel like he's not ever actually had a run in the Rangers team. That could be wrong. I'm just talking from an outsider, but I feel like I've barely seen him.
Well, he got his face smashed in
Yeah,
against St Johnstone, then he came back and he did have a little run. He scored the winner against Hearts last season in that 2-1 comeback. Came back in like the last 5 minutes or something. But you're right, he didn't really get much of a run, and then I think he got injured in training, and it was it an ACL? It was
something
something
bad.
like quite bad in his
Yeah,
knee. So um, hopefully he can stay fit and keep going because we didn't see a lot of Danilo, but I think he's a good player. His movement's really good. Um, Another game he scored in actually was away at Dundee. At I nearly said Tannadice there at Dens.
then Clark across the
So
road.
yeah, um, he scored in that one as well. I think he's just got he picks up little pockets of space. I think he's got really good movement. So I think if he can stay fit, he will be one to look out for. Plus, he's not young, but he's not old. I think he's like 25 or 26. So one that we could have for a couple of years if he can stay fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say, have we got anything more to cover, or is that us?
Do you
Goal of
want
the
to
week?
quickly look at the Scotland squad?
Yeah, we can give a quick overlook of it. Obviously, Scotland games coming up next weekend, or this weekend coming
That's
up.
PK in
Um,
fact.
as you're watching it.
I've got it here. Do you want me to read it out?
Yep.
Craig Gordon, Robbie McCrory, Kieran Slicker. Big call up for the young goalkeeper there, ex Man City, of course. Now it's Ipswich. Nicky Devlin, Grant Hanley, Jack Hendry, Scott McKenna, Ryan Porteous, Anthony Ralston, Andy Robertson, John Suter, Greg Taylor, Connor Barron, deserved. Um, Ryan Christie, Ben Doak, Ryan Gold, Billy Gilmore, John McGinn, Kenny McLean, Scott McTominay, Lewis Morgan, Shea Adams, Tommy Conway, Lyndon Dykes, and Lawrence Shankland. That's starting to look more like it, isn't it, boys?
Yeah, that much more encouraging looking, I would say. Obviously, there's the kind of fullback shaped holes, shall we say, but there's nothing we can do about those really. But it certainly does look a bit more like what you want a Scotland squad to be like, of course. The goalkeeping and the fullback position is a bit of a worry, as we're saying. I remember before the last break having a good 10-minute rant about goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But but we're not quite at that stage. In fairness, in the last break, Craig Gordon acted did pretty well. I've got to say.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was. Craig Gordon definitely made the massive save at the end of the game at home to Portugal and ultimately got us that point, which just gave the fan base and probably players a bit of confidence going into these two games. I don't think there's any real surprises you could say in the squad. Maybe Slicker getting
Conway
that call.
possibly.
Yeah, maybe Tommy Conway, but
yeah, Flicker and Conway really. Yeah,
But
I think
fans have been calling for him for a while to get his shot, so
yeah, especially when Dykes has not really been playing, starting at Birmingham. Lawrence Shanklin's obviously not exactly on a goal streak at the moment either. So yeah, it's not really like a lot of goals between our strikers at the moment. I think, as you mentioned, Connor Barron gets his probably deserved call up. He was a replacement in the last squad, if I remember correctly, but and from the start this time, Jack Hendry back in. He missed the last one through injury, I think.
mhm.
So he's back in, but no real surprises. Obviously, we're still awaiting the return of our kind of right back, ideal right backs, and then Lewis Ferguson's up and going again for Bologna.
But this,
Making
yeah, just a bit too
cameo,
early for him.
yeah, making a cameo
yeah,
appearances off the bench, but hopefully he can get back into being the starting captain, and
Yeah.
yeah, we can maybe get him in the mix as well.
hmm So it's Scotland, Croatia, and Poland versus Scotland. So two games I think we could take something from. Although I won't hold out hope, but you know, just yeah, come on, Scotland.
yeah,
Yeah,
I can back that up personally. I mean, Poland, I feel like we could get someone. It was a real frustration that we didn't, beat them, ham them with the way that game went. I still haven't totally forgiven Grant Hanley, I can't lie. And if anyone has been on my Twitter, um, you'll have saw what my face looked like
But that's all
after
right,
we
Laurie.
scored
I've
that
I've
goal.
been holding a grudge against David Marshall for 3 years. So
And,
um,
and to be clear, the goalkeeper, not the well, former guest.
yeah, not that he was brilliant.
uh, I think we can take something from Croatia at home as well if we can get ourselves playing that way we were. Um, well, what would that be? Over a year ago now, in that qualifying campaign, and I think we can definitely have confidence playing Croatia. I know
Yeah,
they've still got the greats, or the great Luka Modric, but he's getting older now. He's not really playing at Real Madrid or starting regular games. So uh,
He still looked pretty impressive against us, though. I've got to say, he's still he's got that class in him.
yeah, well,
yeah, definitely.
class never leaves you, especially with players like that. But unless we've got anything else to add, I think that's probably us.
Goal of the week.
Goal of the week, yeah, perfect time now.
Right, I'm gonna go with Kevin Nisbet versus Dundee. His second goal, thanks to the hard work of Shane Morris.
Okay, I'm going to go with Lucas Stevenson's diving header against Ross County. I don't think there's much goals to pick from, but I like that one, so I'm going with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to. I want to either give it to Lucas Stevenson or be really controversial and actually give it to Nicholas Kuhn because that ball forward. I think, who was it? Was it McGregor? Whose ball
I think it
forward
was
was it?
Alistair Johnston.
Oh, you know, with Johnson actually, yeah. More for Alistair Johnson's ball forward, but does Nicholas Kuhn get it from me? Is that the first time I've not done a unanimous vote?
Yeah,
Actually,
it is.
there we go.
Well, so how are we going to sort that then?
I just no goal of the week. I don't think.
I was going to say some sort of podium, but a podium doesn't really work. I don't know.
No, I don't. I don't think any of the goals were good enough to earn goal of the week. I think that
I'll
might be a
I'll
problem.
just I'll just switch to Lucas Stevenson.
Oh, you switching to Lucas
I
Stevenson?
really
Right.
I did I did really like that goal as well. When I saw that, I went, oh.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'll go for Lucas Stevenson. So Lucas Stevenson wins goal of the week.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
note to everyone for after the international break, score prettier goals, please.
Yeah, and have better games. To be fair, we were saying that we've been treated to some pretty good Scottish Premiership games this season, so we can't really complain. But this weekend, yeah, it wasn't the prettiest, as you could say. But I think that's all from here. So thank you to Laurie and Alex, and thank you for listening. Thank you for the support on the channel and the Twitter at Dugout 2024 at the Dugout 2024. We'll probably have some videos going up in and around the Scotland games, our reaction and whatnot. So thank you and see you later.